Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking way up at the sun.
Yeah, there's definitely been some chatter, some real activity happening.
Exactly. It's May 20th, 2025, and we're seeing reports hinting at potential effects, right here on Earth.
Hmm.
We've got a couple of sources here. One's titled Sun News. Solar wind could surge today. Stay tuned. Sounds a bit dramatic, maybe.
Well, space weather can be dramatic sometimes.
True. And another on the solar storm and aurora forecast. So, pretty current stuff we're digging into.
And it's important to remember the sun is never really static, is it? It's always doing something, influencing us. These reports just give us a snapshot.
A snapshot, right. So, our mission today for this deep dive, let's break down what's going on up there. What does it actually mean for you listening? Anything specific to watch out for? Or maybe anything cool to look for?
Sounds like a plan.
Okay, let's jump in. First topic. These coronal holes and the solar wind everyone's talking about. What is a coronal hole anyway?
Okay, so picture the sun's outer atmosphere, the corona. A coronal hole is basically a region that looks darker and is cooler than the stuff around it.
Darker and cooler. Okay.
But the key thing really is the magnetic field there. Instead of looping back to the sun, the magnetic field lines sort of open up, stretch way out into space.
Ah, like an open door?
Exactly like an open door.
Oh,
Or maybe a high-pressure nozzle. It lets the solar wind, this stream of charged particles the sun constantly emits, escape much faster.
and we've got, what, two of these potentially affecting us now? There was a huge one, the source said, and now another.
Yeah, that first big one has been rotating across the sun, and its effects, the fast wind stream from it, are what we're experiencing now. And now another one is swinging into view from the southeast edge, the limb of the sun.
So that could send more fast wind our way, too.
Potentially, yes.
Hmm.
That's what we're watching. The wind from the first one is already making itself felt. Speeds right now are around 499 kilometers per second.
Which is fast.
Oh, yeah, that's over 1,000,000 miles an hour. It's actually down a bit. We saw peaks around 580 kilometers recently, and even higher just yesterday, May 19th.
How high?
One peak hit 835 kilometers per second on the 19th. So, really significant speeds coming off that first hole.
Wow, okay.
So this sustained blast, this high-speed stream, is keeping Earth's magnetic shield, the magnetosphere, kind of on edge, as one source put it.
On edge. And the second hole rotating into view could mean another surge.
That's the concern, yeah. Or at least it could keep these elevated speeds going for longer.
Okay, so this fast wind hits Earth's magnetic field, our magnetosphere. What happens then? That's the geomagnetic activity part.
That's it, exactly. Our magnetosphere is like an invisible shield. It deflects most of this stuff. But when a strong gust of solar wind hits it, it rattles the shield.
Like ripples in a pond.
Good analogy, yeah.
Yeah.
It causes disturbances, shakes things up.
Huh.
We call those geomagnetic storms, or just geomagnetic activity.
Right, and how active is it right now? Sounded like maybe not too bad, but could pick up.
Correct. Over the last day or so, conditions have been mostly quiet to unsettled. We measure this using the KP index. It's been around KP 2 or 3.
Okay, and what does KP 2 or 3 mean, practically?
Pretty minor, really. Think of KP like a scale from 0 to 9. 2 or 3 is low-level activity. But the forecast suggests we might see periods of active conditions, that's KP 4, later today or maybe into tomorrow.
And why is that? Still the wind?
Most likely, yeah. It's probably the continued effects of the current fast wind stream may be influenced by the incoming stream from that second southern hole.
Okay, KP4. Should I be worried about my phone going haywire or the power grid going down?
No, not really. KP4 is still considered minor to moderate activity. You might see some brief GPS glitches. Maybe your map app gets a bit confused for a second.
Okay.
Possibly some minor disruptions to satellite signals, or maybe some interference if you happen to listen to shortwave radio.
Right.
But the sources are clear. Widespread power outages, that kind of major disruption, is very unlikely at KP4 levels for most people. It's more something satellite operators or airlines might track closely.
Got it. Good to know. Okay, moving on from the wind, what about flares and sunspots? Those active regions.
Well, interestingly, while the wind's been up, the actual flare activity's dropped off a bit recently. It's down to low levels.
Low levels meaning?
Mostly C-class flares, which are pretty common, and even weaker B-class ones. There's a C5.3 flare earlier today, around 5.54 UTC.
UTC, that's the Universal Time Standard.
Right. And it came from an unnumbered region, sort of a newer spot in the southeast.
Okay, and the numbered regions we've been tracking, are they doing anything? I think there were 4 facing us.
Yes, 4 numbered active regions on the side of the sun facing Earth right now. And one of them, AR 40087, is definitely the one to watch.
What's that?
Its magnetic configuration, the way its north and south magnetic poles are arranged within the cloud, has changed. It's now what we call a beta-delta configuration.
Beta delta. Sounds complex.
It basically means the magnetic fields are more tangled up, more complexly structured.
Hey.
And the takeaway, the important bit, is that this type of configuration has a higher potential to produce strong flares, maybe M-class or even X-class, the biggest ones.
Oh, okay. Even though it's been quiet lately.
Exactly. It hasn't done much in the last 24 hours, but that complexity is still there. So like one source wondered, is it building up to something? It bears watching.
Potential solar drama brewing there. What about the other three?
The other three numbered regions have simpler magnetic setups, alpha or beta, less complex, less tangled, so they have a much lower chance of popping off a big flare compared to AR4087.
Right, and you mentioned an unnumbered region earlier, but there was also something about one just off the edge.
Yes. Good point. There's another unnumbered active region that's just rotating into view over the northeast limb, the edge, and it's already shown some muscle. Yet yesterday, May 19th, it produced an M3.2 flare. That's a moderate-sized flare. It actually caused a minor shortwave radio blackout over the Arabian Peninsula.
So as that rotates fully into view.
It could definitely become a key player in the next few days, yeah. Another source of potential activity.
Okay, so we've got wind, potential flares.
Right.
What about CMEs? Coronal mass ejections? Those big bursts of plasma? Anything heading our way?
There was an event, yes. A filament eruption that's like a loop of plasma lifting off the sun around 1 UTC yesterday, May 19th.
And did that launch a CME?
It seems so, yes. And models suggest the resulting CME might give Earth a glancing blow. Not a direct hit, but a graze.
When would that arrive?
Prediction is around May 23rd, so a few days out still.
Okay. And apart from that potential glancing blow?
As of the latest report we have from around 11 UTC today, no other Earth-directed CMEs were observed in the previous 24 hours. So just that one possibility on the horizon for now.
Gotcha. Okay, let's talk about something visually exciting, perhaps. The auroras. Northern and southern lights. How does all this solar activity connect?
Well, that geomagnetic activity we talked about, the solar wind rattling Earth's magnetic shield, that's the key.
How so?
When the magnetosphere gets disturbed, some of those energetic particles from the solar wind get funneled down along the magnetic field lines towards the north and south poles.
Right, I've seen diagrams of that.
Yeah, and when those particles slam into the atoms and molecules high up in our atmosphere, oxygen, nitrogen, they excite them, make them glow. And that glow is what we see as the aurora.
Beautiful. And you said the current conditions might make them, what, supercharged?
That's the word one source used, yeah. The idea is that this ongoing disturbance from the fast solar wind could pump more energy into the system.
Which means brighter lights, seen further south.
Potentially both. Brighter displays, and they might be visible at lower latitudes than usual. So further south in the northern hemisphere, or further north in the southern hemisphere.
Okay, so this is maybe the exciting part for listeners. If you're listening in, say, Canada or the northern U.S., maybe Scotland, Scandinavia, even northern Germany was mentioned.
Absolutely. Tonight could be a good night to look up. The advice is always the same.
Yeah.
Get away from city lights if you can. Find a dark spot. Look towards the north, generally.
And cross your fingers. Is there anything specific that helps?
Well, there's a technical thing called the BRIZ component of the interplanetary magnetic field. Basically, the solar wind carries its own magnetic field. If that field is pointing southward when it hits Earth, opposite to Earth's northward field near the equator, it connects much more efficiently.
Like aligning magnets the wrong way. They snap together.
Sort of. It opens the door wider for energy to get into our magnetosphere and really light up the auroras. The reports say this BRIZ has been oscillating, kind of flipping back and forth. A sustained southward turn would be really good for aurora watchers.
Fascinating. Okay, so what's the sort of overall space weather forecast then for the next day or so?
The official forecasts are suggesting moderate to low flare activity is likely. About a 35% chance for an M-class flare, only about 5% for a big X-class one.
Okay. And the geomagnetic activity, the Keep Index.
Expected stay mostly in that quiet to unsettled range, KP23, through tomorrow, May 21st. That's mainly due to the lingering effects of this high-speed wind.
But still that chance of KP4.
Still a chance for isolated periods of KP4, yeah, especially late today into tomorrow. Then, assuming no surprise CMEs hit us, things should settle down a bit more around May 23rd.
Right. So for you, the listener, let's bring it back home. This isn't like a major oh moment for Earth, is
No, definitely not. It's really just a great example of the sun doing its thing. It's a natural process, a fascinating one. The potential impacts on technology are generally minor at these levels.
But the potential payoff could be quite spectacular if you're in the right spot tonight.
Precisely. If you enjoy stargazing or you're just curious about space, tonight really does offer a decent chance to see enhanced auroras, depending on your location and, well, a bit of luck with the conditions.
Maybe check a local aurora forecast too.
Definitely a good idea. There are websites and apps that give predictions for specific regions. Worth a look.
Okay, so wrapping this deep dive up, the sun's definitely active. We've got fast solar wind from a big coronal hole, maybe more coming from a second one. We're watching a potentially potent sunspot region, AR 4087.
Mm-hmm. And maybe another active region rotating into view.
Right. All this could stir up some geomagnetic activity, potentially giving us those brighter, more widespread auroras,
Mm-hmm.
minor tech glitches possible, but nothing alarming for most people.
Exactly. And, it makes you think, doesn't it? People have been watching the sun, watching auroras for millennia,
True, from myths and legends.
to now understanding the complex physics behind it all. Coronal holes, magnetic fields, particle streams. It's quite a journey in understanding.
It really is.
It kind of puts our connection to our star and our place in the solar system into perspective. Maybe this makes you curious to look into space weather a bit more. There's loads of information out there online if you want to keep track.